Hey guys, Angan from Ignite here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about context in Pygmalion. But before we get to that, please be sure to check out our website, ignitehsc.com.au, and like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Cool, let's get into it. So there are three parts which you want to consider when we're thinking about context in Pygmalion. The first is industrialization. Now, industrialization was defined by a rapid rise in the production of manufactured goods. And at this time, as a result of this, Britain became a global power. It exercised influence in a lot of territories, and this was an offshoot of their significant colonial expansion into India and other countries. Now, as a result of this process of industrialization, what arose were known as industrial towns, which were areas that were settled around the factories that produced these goods, where a lot of workers migrated from other parts of the country and started living there and working there and raising families there. However, as an offset of this, there became a dramatic growth in population and a dramatic rise in the density of people in these towns and throughout England. And as a result of this overdensity, this overpopulation, there existed a disparity between the working conditions that workers face and the wages that they received. So if we think about that very simplistically, if you're an employer and you have people knocking at the door to work for you, and if the conditions surrounding that area are not so great, or they're not that cheap to live in, it becomes something that you can manipulate and determine your own wages. So what that basically means was there was no incentive for these industrial owners, these managers, these aristocrats. There was no incentive for these managers and these owners of the factories to push up wages because there was such a demand for jobs themselves. So what that created was a situation of very meager and terrible living conditions for people involved. And this led to a lot of disease and rebellions and activism in the time. However, in relation to Pygmalion, it became something about the role of men, particularly, in becoming breadwinners and becoming the main figures in society, particularly the wealthier class. And it dictated how men were able to exercise control and influence and were seen as the models of society, and they were able to exercise the most control over it. Now we see these distinctions quite evident in the play, and as we'll get further, we'll also think about how this relates to the relationship between Higgins and Eliza. So during this time, the period was known as Victorianism, i.e. it was under the reign of Queen Victoria. And this occurred from 1873 to 1901. And the period was defined by rapid technological advancements like the sewing machine, which facilitated this growth in manufacturing and consumer goods, and also trade expansion, which we've discussed before regarding Britain's colonial expansions and inventions like the steam engine, which made domestic transport a lot easier. As a result of this growth in the power that Britain was able to yield in the world, a discussion that arose was about nationalism, or what does it mean to be British? Now, if we understand that the identity of Britain in terms of its economic power was defined by the rich, was defined by landowners, was defined by factory owners, the definition of what it means to be British becomes an upper class definition. So what existed then was a diminishment of the lower class, and an identity of Britain which was dictated by the customs, the codes, the conventions, the dress of the upper class. And this is really evident and mocked and discussed widely in the play itself, and it's something that you should definitely consider as the primary contextual influence on the representations of all of the characters in the play. Now, as I said before, there's an interesting relationship with Higgins and Eliza. Now, whilst Higgins isn't a factory owner, he's a man, he's an upper class man, and so his stature in society is much more elevated than Eliza, the poor female. And Higgins manipulates and really exposes the ability for men to control and dominate women in his manipulation of Eliza, the way in which he treats her, the way in which he disrespects her values, her ideas. And this stemmed from this notion of separate spheres, which basically dictated the different roles that men and women played in society. Now we know that men were the breadwinners, they controlled institutions, factories, made decisions in politics, so they were recognized for their stoicism, their intelligence, their prowess. Whilst the work of women was traditionally relegated to the household. Their traits were empathy and motherhood, and their roles were defined by what they could do at the home. How could they raise their children? How could they host dinner parties? How could they cook? How could they clean? And this isolated role in society, which was relegated to the household, had a dramatic impact on their ability to influence decisions and systems in Victorian England. Now, Eliza, for instance, has very minimal influence, and her identity is simply defined by both her difficulties with the language and her identity as a flower girl. So she's very almost dehumanized because she's a woman, because she's poor. And this position she has below Higgins becomes a source of the way in which she's manipulated throughout the play. And these separate spheres is the only reason why Higgins is allowed to manipulate her. And it's important to consider this in tandem with the growth of Britain, the economic power of Britain, and the customs and codes of Victorian England. When you're thinking about Pygmalion in general, they're all significantly important themes and should definitely factor into the way in which Shaw represents the characters and represents the actions and events throughout the play. So thanks for watching that video, guys. If you want more content like this, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and check out ignitehsc.com.au for more resources about the HSC.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. If you do like the content, subscribe to our channel and we'll have more videos coming your way.
That's right, guys. Thanks for watching. And please make sure you check out our online resource database. We've had a team of state rank achievers and heads of English put these together for you, covering everything from essay structures and examples all the way through to craft of writing and comprehension skills. So check them out at ignitehsc.com.au, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.